Hello everyone, you're watching News Mongolian MNB World. I'm your host, Ayunda Tirobasiko. Our top stories. Today marks the 97th anniversary of the adoption of the First Constitution of Mongolia. Mongolia to export 1.21 million tons of copper ore and 36.7 million tons of coal in 2022. Cambodia to host 2029 Asian Youth Games. For other news, stay tuned. Today is November 26th. The day marks the 97th anniversary of the adoption of Mongolia's first constitution, proclaiming the Mongolia's People's Republic. More specifically, it was on November 26, 1924, that Mongolia approved its core legal principles and a new political system. With the adoption of the first constitution, it not only strengthened the many socio-economic achievements, but also declared all of the land, resources, forests, and animals under the ownership of citizens of Mongolia. Furthermore, the day also marked the beginning of various rights and freedoms that are exercised by Mongolian citizens today by becoming the first Asian country to set the same legal rights for men and women. Mongolian tourism sector that received 1 million tourists in 2019 faced big downturn during the last 2 years. In that period, 30% of companies operating in tourism and hospitality sectors had to close their doors.
Now the next challenge is to retain 80,000 workplaces of the remaining 1,600 businesses.
We're studying what kind of solutions and regulations are currently in force in other countries' tourism sectors during the COVID-19 pandemic. We're also studying foreign best practices and stages of reopening the country to foreign visitors and tourism in Mongolia. Our tour operators and the Tourism Association are planning to develop one integrated directive on hosting foreign tourists during the pandemic and organizing regional tours and package tours.
Countries that have used similar vaccines can exchange tours with each other. This is called a travel bubble. Also, there is a possibility of opening borders to countries with only minor cases of COVID-19 or countries that have become a green zone.
Tour companies are working to develop new tourism products like digital online traveling and creating distinctive images for Mongolian tours. For example, Khinty province was announced as a tourism historic region of Mongolia by the government. Therefore, major attractions are being developed in the region.
Major tourism complexes are being constructed in Khinty province, major towns like Spitr, Tatar, and Dilgarha. We expect to launch operations by 2024 and host up to 160,000 tourists annually. COVID-19 has become a trigger of renewal for the tourism sector. So tour companies are working on retaining their workforce, enhancing their skills, and creating new products.
Organized for the 22nd year, the ICT Expo exhibition attracted more than 150 state and private entities.
Now let's take a look at Mongolia's mining industry stories. Mongolia expects to export 1.21 million tons of copper ore and 36.7 million tons of coal next year in 2022, which is twice as much as last year.
As for gold, like last year, it's planned to transfer about 20 tons of gold to the Bank of Mongolia. According to the Ministry of Finance, the attention was drawn to the export of coal. This is due to the fact that Mongolia was unable to use the main export ports to their full capacity. Therefore, it's planned to increase coal exports to 2019 levels. Officials say the plan is to maximize the potential of coal exports since the Transport Tribunal was established in Kashon-Sukhat border port and was commissioned last week.
We aim to reach the maximum level we reached back in 2019 with 36 million tons. It is necessary to strive for this as a reality. Although we haven't managed to export as much coal as we had planned this year, our projected export earnings for this year are still looking relatively good, given the high amount of copper ore exported and the improved prices for that. In other words, we are missing out on a year that could have given us more opportunities if we could have taken full advantage of our export potential.
Prices for gold, copper, coal, and iron ore have risen steadily this year, stimulating an export-oriented economy, according to the National Statistical Office. However, the finance minister said that when drawing up the state budget for next year, he didn't factor in a rise in prices.
Assuming the mining supercycle has started, it usually lasts from 2 to 5 years. In 2 years, we have the opportunity to continue price increases until June 2022. If the internal pandemic situation is not good, we will risk exporting only 20 million tons this year. The good news is that the railway will be operational by the end of 2022. I don't think this will affect exports by the end of this year either.
The most recent mining supercycle occurred in 2010 to 2011 when demand from the industrial sector of our southern neighbor increased greatly. During that time, Mongolia's economy has grown. This revival is unique in that our country is moving forward in terms of human resources and technology. Therefore, economists recommend to attract investments in the exploration sector, improve logistics, and put the railway into operation without any further delay.
Our next story is about a young girl who managed to turn her handicraft hobby into successful retail business. We have details in the following MNB report.
This is Nargima. She is a senior student who creates accessories with unique designs in her spare time. She mainly uses copper to create various handicrafts, such as rings, necklaces, brooches, and bookmarks. She says she's created 2,000 accessories with unique designs that have been sold to customers.
When I see something nice and unique, I have this immediate feeling of wanting to create something similar with my own hands. It's like a childish curiosity. Of course, initially I wasn't thinking about turning it into a profitable business. The more you create, the more you learn from your mistakes. It is the next step toward taking your art to another level.
Nargima also creates accessories from recycled paper and felt.
I like creating absolutely new, unique designs. It's interesting to learn something you don't know how to do. I like creating avant-garde things rather than ordinary, normal designs. My future goal is to open my studio where I can teach others how to create handicrafts.
Nargima says that she gets inspiration from nature. She currently sells her products through her social media platforms.
Now let's check the currency exchange rates provided by Mongol Bank. Here is the weather forecast for major cities around the world. Well, that's it for today. Thank you for staying with us on News Mongolia. See you next week with more stories and updates. Have a great weekend. Goodbye.